It's really that time of the year where football transfer rumors are going to be going into overdrive due to one very simple reason. The off-season is there. Clubs are now starting the time though where, a lot of them are starting to report back to their training grounds for pre-season, but more importantly, a lot of clubs are still going through the process of finalizing or ensuring they're bringing in the players they need and also getting rid of the players that are surplus to requirement. Unfortunately, throughout all this time, what does tend to happen more often than not is that you'll end up getting some rather unreliable rumors, but don't worry about that. We've got you covered here at Sports Today, because what we do in this video, which we sporadically put out every few days, is we sum up some of the more interesting transfer rumors doing the rounds and bring them to you and then discuss them a little bit. So we've got a few more interesting transfer rumors for you guys. Without further ado, let's get straight to it. One of the first ones is Jordan Henderson to Al-Ittifaq. Now, in case you're wondering where this one comes from, the Liverpool captain, Jordan Henderson, has reportedly agreed a deal or agreed personal terms with Al-Ittifaq, a Saudi Arabian side that very recently named Steven Gerrard as their new manager. So that's where the link comes in from. Gerrard is, of course, someone who's played alongside Henderson and was a mentor to Henderson. So understandable that he'd want Henderson with him and Al-Ittifaq. There's just one small problem. Al-Ittifaq were led to believe that this was a deal they could have gotten done on a free, but Henderson currently has about a couple of years left on his contract. So it does seem like they may very well have to pay a transfer fee. Of course, if they do that, well, then this deal seems to be go, because Liverpool, whilst they're reluctant to sell, would be open to let Henderson leave, considering the amount of loyalty and the silverware that he's won with the club. But he's not the only midfielder from the Reds that is being targeted by a Saudi Arabian club. That is because Fabinho is also a target, but this time for a different club in Al-Ittihad. Now, this one is a lot more concrete because Al-Ittihad are reportedly willing to pay up to £40 million to sign Fabinho, which in itself is a bit weird in a way, but not that weird when you consider that the transfer, let's say, strategies that a lot of these Saudi Arabian clubs have had has been to go for well-known big names. Now, Fabinho is someone who has struggled in recent times at Liverpool, but he definitely fit in very comfortably in the Saudi Arabian league. He's someone who's a known quantity, would provide plenty of solidity to Al-Ittihad's midfield. So it does in a way make sense. But 40 million for a player who's not even first choice at Liverpool, I'm sure if this deal goes through, they'd be pretty happy, even though it would mean pretty much dismantling the core of the midfield that served them so well for so many seasons. Sticking, of course, to Premier League clubs, but moving on from, let's say, Liverpool. And another rumour that seems to be doing the rounds is that of Harry Kane, the Tottenham and England skipper, moving to PSG. Now, up until very recently, Kane was being linked to one club and one club only, and that was Bayern Munich. In fact, Bayern Munich have submitted not just one but two bids and have seen both of them actually knocked back. But now it does seem like PSG are willing to give a little bit of competition, try and push things further and get the England captain to come to the Parc des Princes in Paris. Now, this would be an interesting move for sure, not only because it would pretty much guarantee Kane, let's say, a number of trophies, something that he hasn't won through his career, but they'd also be able to match or outdo the salary that he's currently getting at Tottenham. Of course, it does seem unlikely that this move would happen, mainly due to the fact that Spurs are setting a pretty astronomical price for a player who's A, got only 1 year left on his contract, and B, seems unlikely to sign a new one despite all of the efforts. But PSG do very clearly want a big signing, like someone who could be a marquee signing, to ensure that they can try and maybe convince Kylian Mbappe to stay at the club. Mbappe, of course, wants to make a move this summer, not the next, or at least the next, if not this summer. But the other name that is being linked to PSG, Victor Osterman. Now, Victor Osterman was, of course, very key to Napoli surging to their first Serie A title in over 30 years. So, he's also someone who is a top striker, and the kind of money that Napoli have slapped on him, the price tag, and of course the kind of wages he would command, means very few clubs in the elite right now could potentially afford him, PSG being one of them. And of course, PSG are targeting him. Of course, whether or not he'd want to swap Serie A for, let's say, the French league, that remains less certain, but it is pretty much believed that PSG want to target signing either Kane or Osterman as a big signing, really, to show Kylian Mbappe that, look, we're still serious about the project. We'd appreciate if you don't leave us and go to Real Madrid. How successful that move will be, we don't really know. Moving to the next transfer, and he's become something of a forgotten man in Chelsea, but Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang could very well be offered an escape route from the club if he wants to join Marseille in the French league. Now, again, Aubameyang was signed last summer towards the end of the transfer window. He was signed on the insistence of then head coach Thomas Tuchel, who unfortunately was fired just a few days after Aubameyang was signed. Since then, he's become, as I said, the forgotten man at Chelsea because he was pretty much ignored for the most part under Graham Potter and even Frank Lampard's interim caretaker spell, which he was doing towards the end of the Premier League this year. He's definitely not someone who's going to be in the plans of new head coach Mauricio Pochettino and is reportedly on a pretty big salary. So if Chelsea can actually get him out, not just of the club and pretty much anywhere, would be a saving grace. And as for Auba, well, he's catching up there in age. Maybe a move to the French league would help kind of reinvigorate his career a little bit. Maybe. Assuming he is, accepts the move, I don't think it would be the worst for all parties involved. The bigger transfer, or one that has been doing the rounds for quite some time, is that of Kyle Walker potentially leaving Manchester City and joining Bayern Munich, because again, it is reportedly believed that he was not very happy with the fact that he'd started neither the FA Cup final nor the Champions League final. He's someone who wants to be playing in the big games, and it didn't really feel very good to him that he was unable to start. He's been reportedly linked with a move to Bayern Munich, but now Juventus are another club that are interested in securing his services, because again, he's someone who's a proven commodity, and despite being, above 30 at this point, not someone who's lost either his physicality, his pace and his stamina. So again, interesting move for sure. Whether or not it happens, let's wait and watch, but it does seem that Walker has multiple options should he in fact want to, let's say, leave Manchester City and go to whether it be Turin or whether it be Munich. Of course, if City do end up losing Walker, they do have a backup plan. That backup plan is Benjamin Pavard of Bayern Munich. You heard that right. Pavard, who's of course remembered most famously for scoring a really beautiful goal in the 2018 FIFA World Cup, hasn't unfortunately had that much playing time. He's not been a first choice or any kind of a regular really at Bayern Munich for quite some time. But he's someone who City do look at as someone who'd be of good value, not be very expensive either, because again, he's someone who's not a first choice player at Bayern Munich. So he's reportedly believed to be their top target should Kyle Walker walk away. Of course, they have offered Walker a new deal. Whether he chooses to accept that remains to be seen. If he chooses not to and pushes for a move, Pavard is believed to be the man that they're looking to target. And we'll end this with a little bit of a random transfer rumor, let's say, but Aleksandar Mitrovic, someone who has consistently been scoring goals in not just the Championship, but as of last season, even in the Premier League, has now had, plenty of interest from Al Hilal in the Saudi Arabian League, in the Saudi Pro League. And now Fulham have knocked back not one, but two separate bids for Mitrovic, who's, of course, as I said, someone who scored a fair few goals in the Premier League last year. And I think considering the kind of money that is being bandied about, should ideally be targeted by a bigger club within England, never mind a Saudi Arabian club, because he's still someone who's very much in the prime of his career. He might be a little interested, but it does seem like that Fulham would want a lot more money to get, let's say, rid of their star man, because they seem very keen to keep hold of him as of now. Who can blame them? He was really one of their star performers last season. And that's it from us from this edition of the Transfer Rumour Roundup. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget, like, share, subscribe, tap the bell icon, leave us a comment, follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Don't forget to download the SportsTech app. And if you're already on the channel, go ahead and check out some other videos that we've done. But for now, from my side, it is goodbye.